A brief synopsis of Christian 21's information and revelations for the Great Spiritual Awakening following Alice and Buzz Lightyear, aka C21. Further into the Rabbit Hole by Leon George. Sinclair, there are a lot of newcomers to Christian 21's information and revelations. These last few months in particular, many more souls are finally waking up to reality at last. My own Bookfist page has grown over 1,400 curious people in the last 4 months alone, and the Telegram channel, Teat Me Love and Light 16, has exploded lately. Not coincidentally, just as Christian said over 3 years ago, towards the end, Leon, loads of people will realize that I'm not off my nut after all, but it won't happen till the very end. My mother told me that the scales will tip. Everyone on the fence will realize. It will all start to make sense to them as it comes out on tell. Millions more will twigly, but only at the end. And look where we are now. Look at the disclosure level so far, for anyone awake. At any rate, the sleepers and sheep didn't know that anything even happened. So long as their furlough rolled in each month through lockdown 2020, they couldn't give a monkey's, and that's the reason that they are about to lose all their money and savings in a banking crash lol lol. Why laugh out aloud? Because this is not about savings, retirements, Jasara, aliens, or whatever normal people assume it's about. It's not about Trump, Putin, Zelensky, and Zhang Yuan, Xi Jinping, Merkel, Starmer, or whoever. Fuck, wait, a medbed will not fix you, and the forgiveness of all debt will not help you. You are in a period of time known as the Great Spiritual Awakening. It's called that because many revelations have been made available for those interested in know in their own lives to bother to look further. Now these revelations will be spoon-fed at great speed into your highly lethargic and pathetic awareness, because this is about torturing children, oh, and some other stuff. I was chatting with Christian the other day in the van, about lockdown, and about thoughts that I had myself contemplated many times since 2020, but Christian brought it up this time. Lear, what you reckon the nurses and helpful thought when they's out on the streets clapping, while the hospitals were empty, and they had nothing to do except choreograph dance routines to songs like Jerusalem. It's a fair question. Nurses, what was going through your minds while this period of revelation was transpiring? We are genuinely very curious. It's plagued me for 4 years, personally. I was at Colchester General Hospital within 2 weeks of lockdown. I saw with my own eyes how empty it was. In the coming weeks, I went to graveyards that were closed. I went to ice skating rinks that were also closed, as opposed to storing COVID victims. I spoke to nurses who held the party line without second thought, in an NPC hierarchy down to awkward questions. Eyes widening slightly, shifting left and right as they won Leon Rat Hole Part 1.txp Leon Rabbit Part 1 to 1726 1:19 p.m. page 1. Recounted the explanation to someone who clearly knew more on the subject than they, who knew absolutely whatsoever themselves, save the fact that almost the entire country was out on the streets, clapping for them for some obscure reason. UNHS only knew that over 50 plus million people were clapping for you every afternoon, and that there were no sick people in your hospitals. That's all you knew, but the public had a different perspective. The public had a death toll counter on every news channel all day, every day, for about 18 months and a PCR test set to cycle 40 times, massaging the results to 95% false positives. But the frontline healthcare system, well, they just foolishly went along with all the media applause, while knowing full well that they had never been this quiet before in the history of nursing itself. Forget shoes for a minute. This by itself is serious shit. Genocidal compliance on an international level by over 99.9% of healthcare staff all over the world. Wow. How must it have felt at that time back then to go home to your family, who had been out on the doorstep every night at 7 p.m., clapping for you, while you knew full well that you had completed 850 levels of Candy Crush on your mobile phone that day at work, and choreographed the latest NHS tech dance routine, and that there were actually no COVID patients in hospital. Or did your family think that there was nothing unusual about it? I mean, it's a pandemic. Hospitals should have been Ramo. But it was tumbleweed, and you knew it. Didn't you even admit it to your immediate family? You see, if I were a nurse and I went to work on shift to an empty hospital, after the first day when I realized that the nation was clapping for me for no reason whatsoever, I would certainly speak out. I'd be like, what the fuck are they all clapping for us for? We haven't done anything? Someone please explain? Or I'm throwing the towel in as this looks mac as fuck. There is no coming back from that. Let that sink in. Forget the beard oil and tight jeans for a minute. Forget the gym tomorrow morning before work. Are you in a job that placed you in the front line of COVID during COVID? A teacher, a GP, consultant, nurse, dentist, council worker, social services personnel, CAFCAS, police, etc., etc. Were you yourself in a position through employment circumstances, public office, where your role was to inform a person or persons about staying safe during COVID and getting vaccinated? Or were you allowing vaccination on your premises? Maybe you are a manager of a supermarket where vaccination was going on in the car park? Maybe you're a head teacher? Maybe a nurse? It doesn't matter because if you allowed this to continue after died suddenly became a thing, then you are well and truly fucked. Basically, especially if you were one of those ultra gullible healthcare people who got paid 70 quid for every person you vaccinated. I know GPs who have bought second homes with their COVID jab money, profiting from killing patients while assuming that it will all be okay, because everyone seems to be going along with it. Heroes, aren't you all? It's all gone quiet over there. It's all gone quiet over there. It's all gone quiet, all gone quiet. It's all gone quiet over there. Did you hear that thump? That was hitting the floor. To make this make any sense to you whatsoever, you really must understand the most basic fundamental realities to the Great Awakening. Christian 21 smashed this big time. It's such a ridiculously vast topic, involving many new concepts and thought forms, new terminology, new understandings, new species, and a total uninstallation of your current understanding of chronological events, the historical past, space, geography, travel, etc., etc. Christian had to work out where to start explaining all this to people who think the Earth is a spinning ball in the depths of space, rotating anti-clockwise at just under 1,000 miles per hour. So he started with the basics, so that small children will understand the soul, sun. The parasites got busy here also with our language-based understandings. Let's break this down here first quickly, to save ambiguity before we start on the basics. A solar system is not the planets that orbit your sun, because that is a fallacy. No planets orbit suns. That is a part of the fake heliocentrism fakery only. A soul is a soul. They are synonymous, but after the last reset, the parasites changed all languages again and made our word for the sun the word sol in Spanish, the word for sun a sol. So when we think of solar systems, solar, we assume its connotations to the sun and planets. But an actual a-sol system is literally the network of souls who make up your immediate cosmic family. It's got nothing whatsoever to do with space or planets. Planets are a horizontal situation. There has never been a round planet. It would not sustain life. Even if they could make it a sphere, it wouldn't be able to be moved, let alone spin at 1,000 miles per hour. And how would you illuminate a huge sphere with only one local sun? There would need to be suns all over the place just to light up a small part of it. And how would you add a firmament to that sphere? Without a firmament, you can't bend light and sound. It's light and sound being bent by the firmament that gives your physical eyes their perception. You'd need giant pillars raising hundreds of miles into the sky like a network, supporting the Dyson sphere firmament surrounding the entire planet. You gotta wake up. Really, you have, because the world you think you live in is actually impossible. The world that you actually assume you live in, with gym membership, supermarkets, condos, and recreation, this world is the fantasy land, albeit a highly dystopian fantasy. It's not possible to exist here in the way that you assume that you do. But you do not question it, because to question and analyze the individual threads that make up the fabric of reality places you outside of conformity. You risk peer ridicule, job loss, ostracization, sometimes even imprisonment, because you are not supposed to be considering these issues. Freemasons worked it all out for you over 100 years ago, and they wrote many, many books about it, so go read one of them if you want any information. For those who did question it, such as myself, we only had what was presented to us to research with. That's why they remove everything after each reset. Some stuff gets left behind. These are called UPAs, out-of-place artifacts, and they are blatant physical evidence of the high technological civilizations that came before us. These items are embarrassing to history itself, so they are relegated to museum basements and the minds of those who wear tin-foil hats. Soul Soul,
Beautiful,
now
right?
we are on the same page with
Happy
Soul
sunrise,
Soul.
everybody.
We can delve a bit deeper into
First, I want to
creation
take this
itself.
time to thank you so
The
much
first ever
for
souls to be
having
created
me.
from source creation
I
were a
was able
small
to come
handful of
for
souls, whom
uh,
Christian's mother,
Ceylon's
Sia, and
B-Day,
father, Raphael,
and
are a part of. I forget
one
what they were
day, and
called. You'll have to ask Velma. These souls are now billions of years old, 15 billion Earth years old, minimum age. These beings are known of as micro-suns. Their soul is so powerful and so deeply knowledged that they are synonymous with the source of all creation's own intellect and knowledge base. Source of creation, ignited as an indigo spark of perpetual light, many billions of years ago. It came into existence through necessity. A need arose for intelligence to appear where nothing had ever existed, just the dark matter field, made up of billions of powerful magnetic frequencies. The small indigo light grew as it needed to, constantly striving towards perfection, like a flower growing through a crack in the pavement, like a tree rooting itself on the side of a cliff, always striving for success no matter what the circumstances. After many billions of years, Source creation had gathered enough mass in light and thought that we could envisage Source as a vast non-physical brain, an etheric supercomputer capable of multi-dimensional tasks simultaneously, for want of a better description. Source had come up with a plan, a very well thought out plan, a plan to create a vast network of highly benevolent and capable masters, who would then go on to create their own familial network of similar beings, who, just like Source creation, would then all go on together to help build a physical existence, to progress the learning and experience necessary for the procuration of experience-based wisdom. The source of creation created equal masters to help ordain light and sound into solid physical structures, which was always the end goal. You see, having no physical vessel yet poses a few issues, like you can't do anything physical. If you are planning to build a house, a supermarket, a computer, a petrol engine, a military coup, or a cake, you will need to think about it first. You will need to plan it, you will need a period of trial and error while you get it right in training, practicing and learning, lots of sustained thought on the topic, and much planning. In this instance, it was all done prior to the creation of physical matter. Progress started at the top and worked its perfect arse back down the ladder, so that trial and error was all done on the drawing board in thought form first, way before there were any planets to even stand on. These souls are where the puck stops at creation, the micro-suns, Christian's mothers and fathers level, and the 4,000 ancients, who Christian 21 was just the first created of those 4,000. These people went on to create the Terran humans. So the Terran are the children, literally, of the 4,000 ancient ones, for they created everything with the help of the people who created them, being the 4,000 ancient souls who are also in here right now with you. It's just like what the custodians did. They went and created their own negative help to aid them in their creation of a gateway destroyed and enslaved for eternity. The process of evolution via natural selection is as fake as a supermodel's tits. It was a theory concocted by 33rd degree Freemasons to explain where we came from. They obviously can't ever tell you the truth. No matter what reset we were in the past, there was never truth. So for instance, the reset before the last reset. So reset 4, we are in reset 7 right now. And don't forget that there were only going to be 8 resets. There were still gods living amongst
Kirsten,
man,
we're so
physically.
thankful for everything that
Reset
you
1
do.
and or
You are
2 would
such
have
an
been the time of
amazing
the
host during
Zep-Tepi,
our visit
or
to
the first
Wilmington.
time of
Thank you
Egyptian
so much.
folklore.
Hi,
This was when the
Kirsten. I'm so
Anunnaki had their
glad
headquarters
that
in the
I got
Grand
to meet you
Canyon.
in
In the
person.
US, the
You're such a
Zep-Tepi was
kind
not
and
in
amazing
Egypt,
person.
and
Thank
they are
you.
not Egyptian
Hi,
names.
Kirsten. Thank you
They
for
are
the
all
jacket
Anak,
they gave.
Anunnaki, names in Egypt or the Grand Canyon because America has a lot. Google Egyptian named locations in the U.S. Cairo, Illinois, pronounced Cairo. Situated at the confluence of the Ohio and Mississippi rivers, it is the most famous example. Memphis, Tennessee, founded in 1819 on the Mississippi River, named after the ancient Egyptian capital. Thebes, Illinois, named after the ancient Egyptian city. Karnak, Illinois, named after the temple complex in Egypt. Dongola, Illinois, named after a city in Sudan, Nubia. Carmi, Illinois, often included in the Little Egypt region. Goshen, Illinois, named after the land of Goshen in biblical Egypt. Egypt, Arkansas, a town in Craighead County. Cairo, Georgia, county seat of Grady County. Prominent Egyptian-themed or related mythological landmarks in the Grand Canyon include Ez's Temple, a large, prominent butte in the canyon. Cheops Pyramid, named by George Wharton James for its resemblance to the Great Pyramid of Giza. Horus Temple, a formation located near the Isis Temple. Osiris Temple, another peak named after Egyptian deities, often mentioned alongside Horus and Isis. Tower of Ra, a rock formation in the same vicinity. Tower of Set, mentioned in reports of the area. Buddha Temple, Manu Temple, Shiva Temple. These, along with the Egyptian names, are found in the same region, representing a broader trend of naming features after various Eastern and ancient gods. Context regarding the names. These names are located primarily on the North Rim, particularly in the area around 94 Mile Creek and Trinity Creek. The naming convention is largely attributed to Clarence Dutton, a geologist who, in the 1880s, began naming Grand Canyon features after deities from various cultures. The persistent myth that these locations indicate a underground city stems from a 1909 Arizetta article that has been by historians and the Smithsonian Institution as a hoax. So the Smithsonian Institute says it's a hoax. The same Smithsonian Institute founded by Freemasons, the same Smithsonian, and the same Freemasons who took possession of over 10,000 giant human skeletons from American soil with the post-reset expansion of the railways. Much land was excavated when the railroad expansion started. Great swathes across America were opened up because of the railroad, and many large burial mounds were found, and many of these were not even known to be burial mounds at the time. They were just hills left from the last reset, as far as anyone knew. They didn't even know that there was a reset, as only the surviving 33rd degree Freemasons of the time would have known the true story of why the orphans were being transported all over the place, or why these poor children were even orphaned in the first place, or why there's a lot of bricks and rubble everywhere and not many people. So until they needed to slice hills in half, they tended not to bother, until they needed to be cutting a railroad through the middle of the mound, where they started finding giants of all sizes, from 12 tall to 35 plus meters tall, yes, meters. Some mounds had more than one giant inside, and some had 2 to 3 of various sizes. But they were all taken away immediately by the Smithsonian. Don't forget that the railroad magnates owned the steam train manufacturing companies and the coal fields that fueled them. They were also all 33rd degree Freemasons, so obviously they are all working together and singing from the same hymn sheet and working for the same people, as always. Same with today, the people who own car production are the same people who make rubber tires, oil, petrol. They are all in the same club, glued together with the secrecy of Satanism, guaranteed they will be spared jail or a reset and live in luxury with all they desire. They just have to kill children and sell out their own kind. Simple choice, but they chose wrongly. Sorry, where was I? Giants, over 10,000 giant remains, and this is well documented now. There are many hundreds of old newspaper microfiche slides from early US papers, and even into the 1970s, hundreds of examples of giants being found all over America, all sizes, some massive giant skulls, and some really, really large human femurs. One of these femurs is at least 30 meters long. Someone might ask why wouldn't they show this on TV because it backs up the Bible. It may well back up the Bible, but society has moved on somewhat. We have all been exposed to sci-fi and fantasy, and now these days, the fear of God means nothing to anyone. So they need to sweep it under the carpet rather than have awkward questions. Don't forget, if a Freemason fucks up live in public, they can be killed or their family. They don't show the public this type of thing because it raises uncomfortable questions. When a discovery like this is called in, no matter what discovery, anything unusual basically, when this type of thing happens, people usually call the police as a non-urgent matter. Some people may call a university, and some may call a museum. Let's say the police turn up because you were building a conservatory for your nan, and you found a human skull 2 meters tall and 1.5 meters wide under her veg patch in the garden. If you're an average builder, you'd probably just call the police after you took selfies with it. So say, turn up. They dunno what to do. They call it in, and a grown-up from the station calls the University Museum, the uni call the Smithsonian or London counterpart, and recovery of the artifact, bones, or whatever, is initiated. The discoverer will be made to sign a NDA, non-disclosure agreement, meaning that they are unable to discuss this find with anyone and must hand over any pictures taken. They will be told very sternly, bordering a threat. If you break this NDA and we will be listening, watching, you could go to jail for a very long time, lose your home, car, and family, or worse. So be quiet, please. Something like that. People tend to obey threats like that from men in official cars, wearing official suits. It shuts people up quite well. The Smithsonian Institute was the Vatican of archaeology, its vaults sealed to air, let alone human eyes. Only parasites themselves or bloodline members may go to the actual parts that matter, below this building. Don't forget, all roads lead to Rome in every sense, even reincarnation. In a previous reset, this building was a castle. Above ground is irrelevant. There's nothing above ground except repurposed Tartarian architecture and artwork whose creators' names have been stolen, renamed as Michelangelo or Leonardo da Vinci, etc., etc., etc. It is below ground where the magic literally happens. The Vatican has 13 levels below it. These levels were luxury slaughterhouse and state-of-the-art entertainment, accommodation, spare cages full of children, spare adrenochrome warehouses, portal access to go here and there willy-nilly, huge spaces. Each level was home to either a demon or a parasitic power figure and their consorts. But none of the parasites trusted each other, and it was in the custodian's interest to keep the other parasites and demons all under one roof, so they all had their HQs at the Vatican. So Omicron and Alpha Draco had a level each. Custodians had a level. Anuk had a level. Greys had a level, etc. One of these levels housed the portals to redistribute the souls that are fresh from reformatting after entering the sun after death. The amnesia vortex was the technology that pulled you in towards the bright light at the end of the tunnel that you saw when you died. That bright light isn't God, it's the sun. All souls pass through the sun, which is a portal that deals with your life between physical vessels. When we die, we are not reborn immediately as happens here. There is usually much time spent in other light realms before rebirth at some point when you feel happy to be reborn, or more importantly, when your other half is also ready to be reborn. Because time is non-linear back home, there is no lonely time spent on your own when your twin flame passes away. An average lifespan in fifth density is 4500 Earth years without age regression, but with age regression it's more like 20,000 plus years. So, at some point in the future you and your flame will decide to go together. If one passed before the other, hypothetically speaking, the gap would be reduced by the partner still alive, bending time to match the deceased partner's time. But that would never happen. That's a third density scenario, only for the explanation. As your soul leaves the portals under the Vatican, this is the moment that decides the new soul's future life path. The Greys handle this aspect with their technology. They escort you, your soul, to the country where you are to be born. You then have free will to quickly select parents from the mothers who are immediately about to give birth in that country region. Because don't forget, the soul enters the vessel immediately after birth, and usually before the umbilical cord is cut, not before, and not during the pregnancy. The soul will usually enter the baby at the moment of birth. That's why sometimes you see the midwife shaking the baby. It's like the soul was a little bit late getting in. It needs seconds to set up, ready to ignite the heart with trilovolts of energy. Minute electrical interaction is all that is needed to start the baby's heart. Think of the electrical interaction between your fingertip and your phone screen. Without that minute electrical interaction, say you were wearing a surgical glove, your finger can't actuate virtual buttons on the screen. It's that tiny electrical discharge that is needed. That's your only choice in this life, apart from the choice to be good or bad, and you don't get to choose the country. They know roughly where all the twin flames are, and they will not be letting any twin flames meet, no chance. As we said previously, twin flames meeting is a bad idea for all concerned, because there was no way out anyway. Only immediately prior to a reset, the Giants put word out from Realm 2 and opened portals in remote locations in Russia and North America. But only then do a handful of people ever escape and go to the Ancestral Republic. No one escapes, so what's the point of remembering all this 3,000 years ago? Or last life? It would lead to rebellion, discovery, pointless extra suffering. It's just pointless to have known any of this before September 2022, and it makes so much sense that Christian Sibley was actually the only person who ever knew it all. NPCs, it matters not for them. They are not incarnated, they are recycled. They have no past lives and as of this year, no future, because we know what's in store for them. This is why there is no such things as ghosts. Ghosts are a fear trick to help cement into your minds the notion that death is the end, and possible eternal torment in purgatory for wrongdoing. Hauntings are also a gray ET gig. They handle all poltergeist activity and all spooky shit. Gray ET orbs are what you see in these ghost documentaries, that's all. They are not deceased convicts haunting abandoned mental asylums. They are Gray ET working with the ghost show's Zold Soul cast and producers. It's all a show, all fake. Souls are needed down here again as soon as they pass. The parasites need your soul in a vessel, not wandering off wearing white sheets, rattling chains in old pubs across the world. Don't forget, you were here for food, nothing else apart from loosh, which is technically food for demons. This is why mediums and ghosty talkers are all profiting from lies. Some people, a very small percent of the world, have an elevated level of telepathy. They may or may not know this, and they may assume that they are talking to dead people. Likely, they are fully aware that it's telepathy and are just mugging you off, telling you that they are talking to your dead Nan, describing her clothes and hair, her voice even sometimes, and what she said to you in a room on her own on her deathbed. This isn't dead people communicating messages to living relatives. It's elevated telepathic ability over the public baseline by a con artist or attention seeker. These people are reading telepathic images, and maybe even audio, from your mind. They are the same images that you remembered and stored in your mind, being viewed by the medium and repeated back to you. If it brings you pleasure and closure, great. But it's not real. Because minutes after death, less than half hour, your friend or relative is in a new baby somewhere else in the world. The parasites had technology to track that soul and find it again anywhere on the planet, but you were never to know. There's no point cloning a loved one as the soul will not be the same for the reasons started above. The soul is processed immediately, within 15 to 20 minutes. It is back inside a new baby with a new family in a new country, oblivious to any life it may have just left and ripe for reprogramming at school. That's why people think the Earth is a globe. Where was I? The Vatican used to have a castle-type structure sitting on that location 2+ resets ago. Interestingly, the Vatican sits on top of a major node, the same node as Temple Church in London's Square Mile that Christian and myself visited last year. This building is full of buried nonces, knights, sirs, and lords, etc., as are all the other nodes, churches, and places of worship. Don't forget that they had you all worshipping Satan. Revelation 22:16 AI Jesus have sent mine angel to testify unto you these things in the churches. I am the root and the offspring of David, and the bright and morning star. KJV. And as we all are well aware, the bright morning star, or morning star, is synonymous with Lucifer, the light bearer, and as we all know, the morning star is planet Venus, that sits there in the nighttime sky near the moon. Planet Venus is actually the technology that illuminates the moon, or in other words, it is the holographic generator that casts the spherical-looking light into the location that their Death Star-looking space station would sit behind when it was in this realm, gathering loosh from the storage banks of the Black Sun, situated directly below Mount Meru Northern Rock. What we call the moon was a negative ET space station, harvesting center, command and communications, frequency control center, etc. There were only negative ETs and German breakaway hybrid blondes working on it. It had many purposes. It controlled the frequencies for the lunar stages. That's where the word for lunatic comes from in the first place, because on a full moon, they whacked out a load of negative frequencies that fuck with people in many ways. So getting back to Jesus quickly, the last sentence in the Bible says, I, Jesus, have sent mine angel to testify unto you these things in the churches. I am the root and the offspring of David, and the bright and morning star. So how come no one noticed that before Jordan Maxwell told everyone about it? I never noticed that, and I read the Bible twice in my life researching it. So, no one ever noticed that before? No one in religion ever noticed that blatant association with Satan Lucifer. They have to tell you the truth in plain sight, and you can't get much more in plain sight than that, can you? The moon, or the craft that sat within its holographic shell, would come and go, sometimes in this realm, sometimes in other parasitic-controlled realms on Gateway 10, doing the same thing that it did here. They had control of 65 other worlds here, to some degree, nothing like this here, being the parasites. Biggest ever asset, but 65 of other worlds were suffering, and therefore generated loosh. The parasites even collected that loosh, they leave nothing to waste, not a single drip of adrenochrome gets missed during any sacrifice ever. So the moon station would appear and disappear from its Dyson sphere-like holographic location. It literally materializes and dematerializes in situ as they wish. It would phase from our moon to whatever moon it needed to be located in, and then back again, and no one would be any the wiser. The parasites told you that Lucifer was the light bearer and the bright morning star, because of the holographic nature of what we are looking at. Moonlight is warmer than moon shadow. You can test this at home with a chair and an accurate digital thermometer. During a full moon, put a thermometer in the moonlight and put another thermometer under the chair in moonshade. So long as they are not in the wind, you will see that moonlight can't possibly be reflected light from the sun, as it would naturally be warmer than moonshade. But it never is, because the moon illuminates itself. Lucifer, the bright morning star, is actually bearing the light onto the lunar surface. Hence, Lucifer, the light bearer. What's the first thing that happens when a SWAT team wants to bust a property? They cut the power, and that's what the parasites did when they took this center realm, what is now the known lands, formerly Realm 2. It's the very center of Gateway 10. Of all 178 worlds that occupy Gateway 10's physical plane of existence, this world here is slap bang in the middle of it all, and therefore at the center of the toroid field, the most powerful place on the planet, and also on every planet, and therefore by default, due to its central location on Gateway 10, it was and will again be the most powerful place on the gateway itself, until the Greys took out the spirit tree, Met Meru or Northern Rock Hyperborea. So taking the realm at the very center of the toroid field's energy vortex for the entire gateway and removing the main aspect to that mechanism, the spirit tree, power was severely limited instantly across the entire gateway. All the other realms still had their central spirit tree, but the main tree was now gone, replaced by a now petrified tree stump. This was two main reasons. They didn't want any of the other species here on Gateway 10 having enough energy to mount a full-scale attack against them, and they needed to vastly reduce the frequencies of Hyperborea so that they can actually start work in person. Because previously, They couldn't even step foot on our lands, as they were way too high frequency. Think of Kryptonite and Superman. Now replace Superman with a 14 tall bipedal crocodile. High vibration makes them very ill, so they have to dampen it with density suppression technology. As I mentioned, only the custodians were originally high vibration. All the other parasitic species were created by the custodians, and their first great success was the Anunnaki. They did well creating the Anunnaki, but they fucked up when they created the Nibiruans. The Nibiruans are the most powerful parasitic species, massive intellectual warriors. They freed themselves from custodian rule by outsmarting them, and luckily they kept themselves to themselves. Their only input into the inversion of the known lands was the black void plasma technology that they surround their worlds with. It's used here in your firmament, and it is the reason that the sky is black. The Nibiruans did not sacrifice children and did not require adrenochrome for any reason. They were just not very pleasant. Your planet's resources are never quarried, mined, or removed from where they sit. They are all there for a good reason. Gold, crystal, tin, copper, all gemstones, and all precious metals are there to serve a purpose. They are not supposed to be taken out and sold or worn around the neck, etc. Sorry, I started off talking about evolution, and somehow we moved on without finishing it. It's easily done with so much explanation required to deliver this information in a way that will make sense to the people who are meant to hear it. And some of those are coming on board only recently. Each reset has a different theme. This reset, you were to be informed that evolution via natural selection was the flavor of the month, so to speak. Starting out in the ocean, and after billions of years, you dragged your sorry arse up onto dry land, like a mudskipper crawling across the sand to find a mate and start a fire. You then turned into some cute furry things. Then you turned into monkeys, and you naturally learnt to walk upright because of the savanna lands with long grass. This made you have to stand up to see over the top of the tall grass, you clever little monkeys. And interestingly, this is why they tell you that women have tits. Because when you were covered in fur and ate bananas all that time ago, around the time you were, according to the Freemasons, Sahelanthropus is an extinct genus of hominid dated to about 7 million years ago during the late Miocene, Wikipedia. When women came into season, according to the Freemasons, your ass would swell up and get very red, and this became a visual sign that you were ready to mate. The problem was you were a banana-eating monkey with no society and a red arse that said you wanted it. And all the women kept getting gang raped because all the males could see the swollen rouge posterior. So all the women would stay permanently seated when they were in season. Group numbers because of it. So evolution, being very handy indeed, found another way to display the time for mating, and that was by women growing tits that could signify when this time actually was, whilst women were sitting down. No shit, I saw a documentary on it years ago. It was like David Attenborough or something like that, and I saw this years ago on mainstream TV before the internet came out. What a load of bollocks, so much bollocks, you see, it's all bollocks. Evolution is done in a lab in the physical densities which are at the moment, 3rd density to 9th density, ninth I believe. I think 10th is mostly light form, creating a vessel as and when you need it, in thought form, manifested instantly into physicality, unfolded in fractal formation from your soul orb outwards in all directions. It's not shape-shifting as the reptilians used, but like a solid physical crystalline holographic projection, projected from the inside out at the soul's request. I'm sure its 10th density to 15th density is light form total integration, or it might be 12th to 15th. But, doesn't matter. Evolution happens at the same time to the entire species simultaneously. Everyone evolves at the same moment, in a bright white light, same as what will happen shortly. Also, new species are created in labs. They are not evolving in nature after overcoming new geographical conditions. They are upgraded by advanced and highly benevolent your soul fam, based on DNA of other species from other worlds, and the current world in question. Imagine intelligent life in general as many different types of bees, all working together in unison, for the same hive, as best friends and trusted family, pollinating other flowers, aka cells, membranes, firmaments, worlds, realms, with new DNA. DNA is the key to augmenting biological life, adapting it to suit new conditions. Sometimes a new lung will be needed because a coupling with an aquatic species will happen. So these upgrades are designed in labs, let's say ninth density physical labs. Depending on what density you're in, genetics changes again into light form manipulation of harmonic architecture, done in thought form, and brought into physicality by sustained and pure intention, if physicality is the destination. But I'll come to that after this, and the upgrade is done in light, not grown in liquids in cylindrical tanks, not in the higher densities of 5th plus anyway. Here in third density, and also in fourth, that's how it's done, in tanks. Back home in the original a-cashless society, everyone is on the same footing. Everyone has the same as the next person in terms of lifestyle, technology, quality of life, homes, etc. Homes are massive crystalline structures and are powered directly from the aether, as seen in Tartaria, but Tartarian technology is third density energy harvesting from the aether. Back home, it is the actual building materials that energize your home. The edifice itself is the resonator. Your home will likely be on a node, or will even replicate a node. It will certainly be near water, and likely a waterfall, or three. As I will explain below, minerals and precious metals are meant to stay in the ground, but I cover this shortly. Suffice it to say that building materials, although they do contain precious metals and plasmatic crystalline components, these are not mined. They are sung, grown, and raised, and these materials are infused during the process of what you call here the subatomic level. For instance, the constituent aspects to a particle or a molecule are ordained through sound guided by sustained intention, anchored in determined outcomes. This intention being sung in harmonic tones, with one or more people, depending on what was the goal of your manifestation. For instance, if you wanted to manifest something simple, like a couch, you would do that in milliseconds because it's very straightforward. Even manifesting a complex laptop would be a simple task. But if you wanted to manifest a full entire crystalline city that flies in the air, you would want dozens of people doing what you are doing, sharing in cerebral link with each other and the aether itself, to carry out a plan of that scale, especially if at a temple when this is happening, amplifying the whole process. So, manifestation creation in the higher light realms causes your desire to be projected from your pineal gland out into the aether. The aether, simulation software, trusts you it will do as you ask. It will allow you to ordain the physical constituent parts of reality to create exactly what you desire, because this level of existence, 9th to 12th, is perfection realized. So, according to Freemasons, you evolved from apes because you were lucky that an asteroid didn't take you out like it did the dinosaurs. Lol, suck a lucky little monkey, aren't you? How would an asteroid get through the firmament? That's what the firmament is there for in the first place, but not for space debris because that's also fake. Asteroids are just a projection on the projection dome. They are not real rocks from space. They are a myth. Asteroid craters are real, and they are caused by parasites opening portals from outside this firmament into this realm, and sending in a biological homemade asteroid, as in when needed at high speed for negative purposes. Obviously, it's always negative whatever they do. Asteroids were weapons, basically delivering destruction when required, illness, new disease, etc. Never nuclear, why would they? They need grow space to grow populations that will have many children, not desolate swathes of wastelands for 1,000 years that they can't populate. The threat of a nuke is all you need to sway public opinion via sheer paranoia, panic, fear. It's always the same tactics, to break it down into the smallest chunks. We trusted our captors' henchmen. In other words, we trusted Freemasons who work for highly negative ET overlords. It shouldn't be embarrassing, because it happened to everyone since birth for a very long time. Teachers taught, and were taught by teachers all the way back. No one was born with past life memories, only a few. It's always been only a few people who can recall past life memories, until 2019, when the amnesia vortex was removed. Now it seems many children are remembering past life details. Some even remember their mission. But never before 2019. Free frequency fences prevent your wandering soul from wandering too far when you leave your body at night. There is all kinds of technology in place to prevent even your slumbering consciousness, safe and sound, trapped where they want you, oblivious and ignorant. This was not possible pre-social media, and this had to wait for social media, because it was the Cabal's tool that the GAA used against them. Remember, ascension involves the whole species at the same time? Well, this is no different. Social media is all over the planet. Igloos have Wi-Fi these days, and untouched tribes seem to be getting mobile cell phone contracts, lol. So everyone has at least the ability to access the info. They are only a Google search away from reality. They are at the edge of the woods. Cellophane separates them, but even with cellophane it may be thin and totally transparent, but you will not be able to see through it if you have your eyes closed. People take Christians' free info and remold it for their own ideology, then sell it as their Pleiadian-channeled wisdom and charge subscriptions for it, lol. I document and explain it all, also for free, and budding authors are doing the same with my writing. Realizing that there is free gold available here from my writings for their new book on Tartaria, mud floods, free energy, history, ETs, etc., etc. It's quite flattering, really lol. Honestly, I don't mind one single bit. Please feel free to plagiarize my work. It's here to be disseminated, and don't forget, it's very easy to forget this. We live in a simulation. What happens is meant to happen, nothing is an accident. Actually, it's a good time to explain this with a real-life scenario. I was talking to an RA member the other day on the phone. This member was married to an abusive and tyrannical narcissist. That situation has rectified now over the last 2 years. Boot, the moral of the story is that life created the only path available for this person to find Christian 21 intel with the available life choices that this person had at their disposal in that person's life path. Because that person found Christian when they did, that whole negative relationship was actually the right path to ascension for this person. Because if this person had in fact married the partner of their dreams and gone on to build a family, move countries, etc., 99% chance they would not have been idle when C21 and Intel passed their eyes. That's all that was needed. Kev in Portsmouth, for instance, didn't even see Christian's face. He was washing up in the kitchen when Christian came on Linda's show. Kev woke up covered in fairy liquid standing next to the microwave. Lol. All people needed to do was hear the call. But where was I? Because this is a simulation, everything that is meant to be happening is indeed happening. Trollers trolling is meant to happen. The naysaying tomato throwers are meant to be throwing tomatoes. The police are meant to be breaking the law, and bailiffs are meant to be making people's lives hard. Because this is how it ends for these people. The police are digging holes for themselves and will be arrested, the tomato throwers will be devastated, and the trollers will crumble into dust. They must all show their hands before the hour is upon us, for this is the end judgment of biblical prophecy. I don't want to get all melodramatic on you, but in reality it is. The Bible being a fake handbook to fuck you right up, they still have to put the truth in it, however distorted it may be. So, all this shit is transpiring for essential reasons. I'll cover this again here for the newcomers, as I know how annoying it can be to spend ages scrolling through info looking for old posts, but we have been saying this for 4+ years now, so to us lot, the resonating army, it's all old news that is easy to assimilate and explain to others so that if they choose to, they can escape the matrix completely before the time is too late to escape. There is one main point and 3 strings that must be understood. The lie. Point. You have been lied to, and so were the people who educated you, and those before them, and so on. You are also lied to through all media outlets and in all media formats. All of the books in all of your schools, education centers, learning establishments, and universities are also purposefully wrong information. There wasn't a truth here to discover. They made sure of it, there still isn't. Only Christian 21's information is the only path out of here, and you might notice that that path is also the only free path, just pointing out the obvious, and Christian was hidden on purpose. They can't discuss his truth because it doesn't involve what they have been profiting off of with their vast viewer networks, so they don't want to hear it. so they can't discuss him on a public show. Even if they discuss Christian 21 between themselves, they cannot discuss Christian with their viewers and followers. They need to ignore him for their own income's sake and embarrassment. When their followers find out that they themselves were watching Christian 21 and never mentioned anything to the viewers of their own channels about his intel, except Linda Paris, well, tears before bedtime. That's the only tears they will be feeling the liquidity of any time soon. You did not evolve from monkeys, and you do not live on a spinning ball. The only way to actually exit the Matrix properly and to progress into Christian 21's information and revelations is to understand the shape of the earth. Without this understanding, there is little point contemplating the details of ascension, soul family, or crystalline palaces and spirit trees. It's all based on the locality of intelligent life very close by, not in the depths of space, but over the ice wall. If you knew there was an ice wall, you'd want to know what was on the other side of it, wouldn't everyone? That's why they lied and said you live on a globe, because there can't be an ice wall on a globe. 3 strings. String 1. Religion and believing in false gods. Religious people, from any and every religion, even Buddhists, are in for a tough time. The devout will likely perish in shock, or by their own hand, when it dawns on them that it was all lies for control. Even thinking that possibly God could be real is going to fuck you up. You need to uninstall all religious beliefs, thought forms, and concepts. Jesus, God, Allah, Zoroaster, whoever you believe in, stop, press pause on that circular belief system. A system that requires your mind subdued enough to make your cognition and thought paths easily replaced by other experts' trustworthy opinion, or the unrealistic and only perceived nostalgic bond that weaves a genetic through vessel family bloodlines here in third density. It's just more lies. The vessel is merely a singular-use vehicle for you to experience physical life from within, during incarnational loops. It is the soul that powers the vessel. The vessel is irrelevant in reality. It's just a vehicle with abilities based on the soul's own level of spiritual benevolence. Or what level of abilities can this soul have, based on how they are going to wield this power? The soul in all beings is the knowledge, wisdom, experience, activation. The soul is the personality, the love, the empathy, the sympathy, the kindness, and the strength. The vessel is a suit you wear. Soul is eternal, but the vessel is mortal and has a best before date associated with it, albeit a very long time away. It's still a present feature of physicality. No one ever inhabits the same genetic family line that they were in when they just died, nor will that soul ever return to that family line again, unless they are a bloodline member. That's the only reason. Or a souled soul will be born again where they want it, so it can carry on deceiving and sacrificing in the new life it has as it gets older. String 2. Finance people are so set on making money and saving as much of it as they can get their hands on that it blinds them. It changes directions in their lives while they chase the direction that the money is in, like gold miners chasing a seam of gold through a mountainside. Money is as fake as God, a complete waste of time. And notice the timing of the gold rush in America in 1848 and Australia in 1851, letting us know that the people rushing to claim land in the new potential gold-rich pastures of future prosperity were the grandchildren of the first babies of the orphan repopulation following the last reset's initial start in America in 1728, and likely in Australia at the same time. Don't forget, countries are not all reset at the same time. This time, if we were to have had the 8th reset in 2019, it would have been the whole planet at the same time, a planet-wide festival of death, torture, and prolonged suffering. They start off in one country and work their way through the planet over a number of years, but it's all over and done with in one country before they move on. They can shield a country quite easily, especially before travel became popular with mechanization of the motor vehicle. It would still be easy for them now, but for the reader to understand here reading this, it's simplified with easily interpreted thought forms. They overlay countries with territory, scrolling land, open desert, and sea. There could be carnage going on an island, UFO destroying buildings with energy weapons, and open Satanism in the streets. and no sailor can even see the island. He wouldn't even accidentally bump into the island if he was sailing towards it, because it would not merely be invisible. It's been shielded in another overlay, so it is literally not there anymore, like how they can have really small craft, yet the inside is vast. Many accounts of ET craft from CIA PSYOP staff tell of exactly this dimensional shift as you approach the craft that may only be 20 feet across. But as you enter it, you enter another simulation, a huge interior with many decks and areas way bigger than 20 meters across. Like that. They have to be honest about some stuff. Oil fields will never run out. Oil runs naturally under the surface of Gateway 10. Oil is not restricted by the ice wall or firmament. It flows freely across the entire subplane of the whole gateway itself, and it's meant to be there. It lubricates the planet's and realm's base, and it's not made from decomposed dinosaurs! Lol lol, it's not meant to be taken out of the ground, same as gold. Gold is in the ground for a reason, same as crystals. It's all a very advanced and natural technology. It's not all there by accident, and it shouldn't be removed. The gold is in the ground for energetic purposes. It reacts with the crystalline lattice network's ley lines and is a crucial part of the electromagnetic structure of the planet's ergonomic technology. We don't need to mine in anything back home. That's one of the reasons, just one, that the parasites hated you so much and why they did things to you like make you eat the leftovers of the sacrifice of your own kind in food and put the carbonized ashes of dead people in tattoo ink. They can't create. They have to manufacture. Okay, so they have cold fusion and cool energy weapons, but that is still Stone Age technology compared to having the ability to design, create, and manifest highly complex and extremely advanced technological apparatus, buildings, craft, etc., by using only one's own consciousness. This is the seat of their hatred. They will never be able to do that, not ever. Well, they're all dead now anyway, so it hardly matters, but they could never have achieved that level of spiritual technology because they could never attain the minimum frequency to get there, being 144,000 hertz, which is enough to get you into fifth density. But these beings operated at much lower frequencies than that. Killing life and prolonging its suffering is going to give your own personal frequency a rating in the sub-hertz range, nowhere near the levels required to even fulfill the complete manifestation of a crack pipe, let alone a new UFO turbo coupe. Sorry, I digressed. String 3, perceived knowledge, intellect, everything that someone has learnt since being born. From the age of understanding onwards, what people know and understand defines their awareness, and as they get older it defines their personality also into a rigid frame of protection. It acts as a shield, for the safety of certainty gives rise to definition of being. You only have to look at the debate on the shape of the Earth. The globe monkeys rattle off Copernicus and other Freemasonic child killers in defense of their stance, when their stance is built on the lies of pedophiles and fraudsters. There wasn't a truth left here for you to discover because the parasites had about 70,000 plus years to plan this all out, and when they planned it all out, it was before they'll several densities. Because don't forget that the custodians were originally the same density as we were. Whilst they were highly trusted colleagues, brothers and sisters, Christian has been a custodian. I have been a custodian. You have been a custodian, but long before the inversion happened. But as we said previously, they wanted more autonomy. They wanted to move creation and development on faster that the Council of 12 had agreed on. They thought they could do it all on their own. So they plotted and planned over many millennia, long before the density around them reacted to their greed and negativity, because at that stage, they were doing nothing overtly negative, nothing satanic. They were just making silent moves to take possession of the physical plane of existence for themselves in the distant future. The custodians could manifest in the higher light realms back them, but they knew that this ability would soon perish once negativity started, so they made sure it was all in place before that time came. Gradually infiltrating other key worlds in their plan, they crept closer and closer to their moment of separation from the source of all creation. They created their own partners in this separation. Understanding that they could not possibly do all this on their own, they created many other species to aid them, other beings built for war, more built for knowledge and genetic prowess, and others as foot soldiers to carry out the dirty work. The custodians created the Anunnaki, Anunnaki, and the Grey ET. They also created the Omicron and Alpha Draco, and between them they went on to create all the other negative species in reptilian hybrids, all negative species. All negativity in the universe originally came from the original custodian betrayal. The custodians were this realm's caretakers right from the start, hence their name, a custodians. Nothing bad had ever happened before on the physical plane of existence, so no one was expecting anything bad to occur. It's like you can go to some remote parts of the planet, and the wildlife there is not scared of you because no bad interaction with a human has ever happened to them before, so there is no fear. Same with the custodians. They were physically very beautiful beings to start with. However, when negativity sets in, it changes the vibration, which changes the vessel accordingly. So now they look evil, sunken eyes, gray skin, and gaunt facial features, hooded and solemn creatures now extinct. There are still some positive custodians knocking about. They have been given sanctuary because they never turned bad, never participated in the inversion, and in fact helped the White Hats and GAA in the takedown. They will live out this life without age regression and die naturally of old age, to then reincarnate into another species after death, and move on. All the negative parasites created by the custodians were fourth density. No parasite other than custodians have ever been in a higher density than fourth. In fourth density, beings still kill to survive, life is still taken for the survival of other life. Whether that's cutting grass to thatch a roof with, cutting a tree to make a fire, or a dragon eating a cow. So fourth density was ideal for the parasites to create more advanced beings that could subjugate us plebs down here stuck in third density, which they created for us as a means of control. Sorry, I digressed again. These three categories solidify why people will not make it through this intact. It's only 3 strings, but they are stronger than Kevlar to cut. People's rationality will dissolve, some faster than others, yet the end result will be the same. Psychological collapse for pretty much everyone, apart from those brave souls who allowed their psyche to graze freely in the fresh and undercrowded pastures of the fields of awakening. Don't forget what the 3 strings are. 1. Religion. 2. Finance. 3. Perceived knowledge. You are also lied to by the truth community in the arena of the Great Awakening. The A-disclosure movement is also lying to you. The disclosure movement itself, with Dr. Stephen Greer's disclosure project of over 500 plus, exceptionally trustworthy and credible witnesses, and senior military personnel, military flight attendants, special access projects retrieval teams, alien interface personnel, military surgeons, engineers, and technical experts, many of them messing the public in their military uniforms, further endorsing and enforcing the legitimacy of their further. From a press-packed auditorium. It looked like we were making progress with ET disclosure back in 1995 when the Disclosure Project went live. I fell for it big time. Of course I did. So would anyone else who knew about ET back then? It looked like public ET disclosure was imminent, but it was all a CIA psyop for this time now and the next few months. Continued in Part 2.